Hey guys, it is Luke from RetroRevival here, and the past few weeks I've been really interested in seeing a lot of films, and I've been to the cinema a few times. I've obviously seen Infinity War. I think everybody's seen that. It is a brilliant film. I also went to go and see Deadpool 2 on the release date, and that was brilliant. So I wanted to make a video about some movies, and I thought I'm going to finally make a video of my collection of my UMD movies. UMD stands for Universal Media Disc, and you use them on the PSP, and they're great for long car trips. I sometimes go down to London with my family, well, down to Surrey, and that's about 5 hours, so I can take some of these with me, and they work perfectly on this, and they actually look pretty good for something that's from 2005. So, because I've seen Avengers Infinity War recently, and of course Deadpool 2, I thought it'd be suitable to start off with the Marvel films that I've got. I've only got a few, but the first ones I've got are Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2, and I've got a load of films, so I'm gonna have to go through these quite quickly. But these are some of my favourite superhero films. I loved them when I was a child, and I still love them now. So yeah. Next up is the X-Men, and I actually quite like this film. It can be a bit boring in parts. It's good to see an X-Men film that's actually good. I'm hoping the X-Force film that's coming out in 2019 is good. The Deadpool films are great. This one's pretty good. There's nothing more I can really say. I like Patrick Stewart's role as Professor X. And if you don't know, the X-Men are my favourite characters in comic book form. Those are the ones I read the most, so yeah. Up next is Fantastic Four, and I don't like this film, to be honest. It's okay. It's better than the second one. Jesus, that's just awful. And then the reboot was trash. That's the best way I can put it. Yeah, so by process of elimination, this is the best Fantastic Four film. Now that Disney have bought Fox, hopefully they can make a good Fantastic Four film inside the MCU, and I can't wait to see that happen. Now, going off Marvel and going into the DC universe, we've got The Dark Knight, and I haven't actually seen this film yet, because I don't really like DC, if I'm going to be honest. I know that Batman is a good character, and I know a lot of people like this film and they say it's brilliant, so I am looking forward to seeing it, but yeah, it's just I wasn't too interested in it, so I haven't seen it yet. Up next is another film that's being brought back in a couple of years, and it is Hellboy. And Hellboy, I haven't seen this either. I know he has some comic books, I haven't read any of those, so I'm kind of going in blind if I haven't seen this. Although I do know that the guy who plays Hopper in Stranger Things, called David Harbour, he is playing Hellboy, and that's going to be great because he's an absolutely amazing actor. So, yeah. This next film is actually my favourite film of this entire collection, and that is Ghostbusters. And I don't know if you know this, but Ghostbusters is one of my favourite films of all time, and I actually have a few Ghostbusters videos about the Lego sets if you want to go check those out, and I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go see those. But I love Ghostbusters. It's a brilliant film, one of the best films from the 80s. I'd probably say it is one of the best films of all time. It's funny, it's got amazing actors in it. Sigourney Weaver, who is brilliant in Aliens, she's in it, and the writing is just brilliant. And if you haven't seen this, I don't like you anymore. Up next are two films from one of the biggest franchises of all time, and that is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire and Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. If I'm going to be honest, the Goblet of Fire is my favourite Harry Potter film, and the Half-Blood Prince I think is the worst one. I do like these films though, and Goblet of Fire, I've just seen it so many times that I now love it. And Half-Blood Prince, I just don't like how it's filmed. It's extremely dark, not in the actual content, but you can't see it. When you're watching this in the daytime, you can't see what's actually on the screen, it's so dark. Next up are a couple of films that my mum looked... she thought I was doing something a bit suspicious when I went to go and buy these. And they are XXX. And I assure you, even though there is quite a large bit of cleavage on the front, these are not pornos, but they are action films. I have not seen these. It's got Vin Diesel in it, so it's probably going to be pretty good. And then the second one's got Ice Cube, because you know he's a renowned actor. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so you got XXX, and then you got XXX The Next Level. Ooh, that sounds dramatic, and I really don't care. But I haven't seen these films, so I can't really judge them. Next up is another film I don't really have an interest in and haven't seen, because it's got Matt Damon. Yeah, I don't really like Matt Damon, to be honest. He's just a bit of a mediocre actor. And this is the Bourne Identity. And everybody knows this because of the meme going around that's now dead, which is the Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. And why do I have this in my collection? I'm going to clump these next three films in together because I haven't seen either of these. And I've got The Day After Tomorrow, I Am Legend, and Heath Ledger, A Knight's Tale. I haven't seen any of these. The one I'm probably most interested in watching is I Am Legend, just because it's got Will Smith in it. Then it's probably The Day After Tomorrow, because some people tell me that's a brilliant film. I haven't heard anything about A Knight's Tale, so yeah. Next up is the only TV show I have on the UMD format, and this is Bottom. And if you haven't seen Bottom, it's a great comedy. It's a British comedy, and in it is Rick Mayall, rest in peace. He was just a great comedian, and this is the only one that I have has 2 discs in it. So yeah, I do really like Bottom. It's really funny, and if you haven't seen it, you need to. Next up is a film that was made by the creators of South Park, and this is Team America. I love this film. It is extremely funny. Quite rude, so if you're young, you don't want to watch this. It's quite obviously ripping off Thunderbirds and taking the mick out of that. That's where the Matt Damon meme came from. It's because of this film. There are some brilliant moments in it. It's just really funny. It's pretty offensive, some of the parts, but that's what kind of makes it funny. If you have a dark sense of humour, then you will love this film. Up next are the 2 UMD movies I've had the longest, and the 2 that I've probably seen the most. And these are The Simpsons movie and Family Guy Presents Blue Harvest. And I love both of these. The Simpsons movie is just a classic, and it is the best-selling UMD movie of all time. Who doesn't love The Simpsons? And also Family Guy, they're quite similar, but Family Guy Star Wars, this is the first one, and the best one out of all of them. I love this too. It's just parodying the best film franchise of all time. And I love both of these, so if you are going to get some UMD movies, these are some of the ones you have to get. And the best thing is, they'll probably cost you less than £1 for both of them together, which is great. Up next is Dumb and Dumber Uncut. And I love Dumb and Dumber. Stupid as anything. If you like Jim Carrey, then you're going to love this. He is the main role in this film. And which one's dumb and which one's dumber? You decide. It's just a brilliant film. My dad hates this, which makes me love it more, because that's just pretty funny. So if you haven't seen this, definitely one to see, because it's pretty interesting and extremely hilarious. Up next is another film that I loved from ever since I can remember, and this is Cheaper by the Dozen, and it is about the main character, who's played by Steve Martin, and he has 12 kids, and it's just chaotic, and yeah, there's so many things I could say about this film, but I just love it, so that's all I can really say. Up next, from the Jim Henson Company, is Dark Crystal, and when this came out, it was a big flop, because Jim Henson was obviously known for doing the Muppets and Sesame Street, and this was completely different to what he was usually doing. So I haven't seen this yet, but I'm a big admirer of what Jim Henson did to entertainment and what it is today, especially of his use of puppets. And yeah, I haven't seen this, but it's still one I need to see. Up next is a film that every child has seen, Ice Age. I think the Ice Age franchise has been oversaturated as all hell, since we had pretty much like 85 movies of it now. So yeah, I hope they stop making them, because I'm sick of seeing them. I kind of stopped after the 27th film. So yeah, this one's the first one. It's pretty mediocre. I think the third one is probably the better one out of the whole army of films, and that's what I'm going to say about this one. The next film up is Dr. Seuss's Horton Hears a Who, and I quite enjoy this film actually. It's got Jim Carrey in it. I do like Jim Carrey, and yeah, it's just a really good film. It's good for kids. The Dr. Seuss films are always pretty good. The best one, the OP, is the Lorax. Yeah, this has nothing on the Lorax. The Lorax is life, but something about this they actually made a little error on, as it says on the back. Includes brand new Ice Age short Surviving Sid, and I've checked everywhere on this disc, and it is not on here, because they completely ripped the art off the back of here off the DVD. So it's just selling something that isn't even on there. I know pretty much everybody doesn't care, but yeah, if you're selling something, you might want to actually sell something that's actually on the disc. Up next is a film that is actually surprisingly brilliant, and this is Surf's Up. It's basically a mockumentary. It's made in the style of a documentary, and I actually really love this film, if I'm going to be honest. It's quite funny. It's a fairly adult film, even though it is for kids. There's a little slogan on the bottom here by the Sunday Mirror, and it says parents and kids will love it. And I'm a teenager, so I'm kind of like a mutant adult child thing, and I quite like this film, so yeah, give it a watch. Up next is one of the most annoying films of all time, Alvin and the Chipmunks. And when I was about 7 or 8, I used to love this film. I thought, oh, this is hilarious, squeaky talking chipmunks. And now that I'm a pubescent mutant child man, I can kind of understand why this is annoying, seeing as I pretty much sounded like this before my voice dropped, and I kind of do still sound a bit like this, but especially when I have voice cracks, which I just made for shooting this, so yeah, extremely annoying, although I do like the premise of it being about music. That was pretty cool. But yeah. Up next is a technical masterpiece, and this is Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, and I love this film. It's held up pretty well, even though it is over 20 years old. I love the animation style. I love that it's all dark and Tim Burton-y, which is awesome. It wasn't actually directed by Tim Burton, it was directed by Andrew Selick, but yeah, it's stop motion, and if you've seen some of my stop motions, they are nowhere near as good as this, but it's just a brilliant film, and if you haven't seen it, you need to. Up next is probably the worst Star Wars film ever made, and for once it's not The Phantom Menace. It is Star Wars The Clone Wars, and I know this doesn't really count as a Star Wars film, but I bought this and I thought, oh, it's going to be really cool, and I watched it, and it was actually on my last trip down to Surrey, and this made the journey more excruciating, because when we actually came to a service station, I was glad, because this is so boring, and it drags on. I actually think this is longer than A New Hope, which is 2 hours and 5 minutes. Actually, let me check. Is it longer than A New Hope? No. it's only an hour and a half, well, hour and 40 minutes, but it definitely feels longer. It feels like about 3 hours. It just drags and it's boring. Up next, I've got a few films, and I want to finally tell the world that I'm a fan of anime. Yeah, my favourite anime, of course, is Pokemon. Everybody loves Pokemon. I also really like one called Seven Deadly Sins, and that's from Netflix. But you have some animes on the UMD format, and that is Steam Boy, Akira, and Ghost in the Shell. And I don't know much about these. I know they did make some comic books for Ghost in the Shell, or manga. But Steam Boy I don't know much about, and these two are made by the same people. Apparently, Akira is a classic film, and I haven't seen it, but I still need to see it. There's also says 2019 underneath, which is next year, so I wonder what that's about. And also, Ghost in the Shell, they just brought this back with Scarlett Johansson, and it sucked. Up next are two other films I haven't seen, with the most overrated actor of all time, Rocky Balboa and Rocky 5 with Sylvester Stallone. I don't like Sylvester Stallone because he's a prick. He charges, I think it was $300 at Comic-Con, which is just ridiculous. And he also was in Guardians of the Galaxy, where they kind of shoehorned him in, and his acting was terrible. He just, I don't like him. But apparently, Rocky Balboa is a good film. I don't know about Rocky 5. I'm looking forward to seeing Rocky 7803.5 next year. God, I can't wait until I see that. But, yeah, I really don't like Sylvester Stallone. And the final one is Bret Hart's The Best There Is, The Best There Was, and The Best There Ever Will Be. And I really like wrestling. I'm not ashamed to say it. And this is a documentary about his life and about his wrestling career. And I've seen this. It's about 2 hours long. I actually really enjoyed it. I saw it on a car journey. It took me all the way through, and it's pretty good. It was about 50p from CEX, and I thought, tell you what, if it's wrestling and it's on this, I'm gonna buy it. So I've got it, and it's surprisingly good. I would have liked to have had like a little compilation of his best matches, which you could see on here, but that's just nitpicking. So this is surprisingly good. So guys, I want to thank you for just sticking out and watching through this extremely long video. I've recorded about half an hour's worth of footage, and I need to edit this down, which is going to take ages. I want my life to end because of it. But yeah, thanks for sticking through it. I want you to just see how many films there are. Just look at this. Yeah, I really enjoyed the PSP. If you want to see my PSP games, then click the like button, and I will do that. So, yeah, without further ado, I have been Luke from RetroRevival. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Bye.